สวัสดีค่ะ Welcome to Hot Thai Kitchen. So today I'm going to share with you a noodle salad recipe called Laab Woonsen. So some of you might be familiar with the term Laab, which is a type of Thai salad usually made up of ground meat, lots of herbs, really good, really popular. Well, this is basically that, but made also with glass noodles. It is not the most common type of Laab, but you can find it at some Thai restaurants in Thailand, usually that serves northeastern Thai food. So if you know about this dish, Thai people will be impressed. You're like a hardcore Thai food connoisseur. All right, let's get started. Let's talk glass noodles first of all. You can get this at any Asian grocery store. Usually comes in little bundles like this. It's easier to work with if you can get them come in little bundles because they're really hard to separate from a big bunch. May not be this brand. Any brand will work. They're actually made from beans, from mung bean starch. That's why it's going to say bean threads or bean vermicelli on the package. So I have soaked these in water for about 10 minutes, just until they're soft and pliable. And what you have to do is you got to cut them so they're shorter. Otherwise, it's really hard to navigate if you got these long things in the bowl. So I just cut them into 3-4 pieces. Yeah, that's good. Okay. So that's that. And then the other ingredient that I like to put in my Laab Woonsen is black fungus mushroom. Does not sound very appetizing, but that's the name of it. And these actually come dry. You can get it at Asian grocery stores in the section where they sell dried mushrooms. And what you do is you soak that in hot water for about 10-15 minutes until they bloom and become soft. And then for this recipe, you just need to slice it up into little ribbons. They don't actually have a whole lot of flavor in them, but it adds a really nice crunchy texture. So I like it for that, but you can just skip it or add something else if you'd like. Okay, one last thing I want to talk about, which is the most important ingredient in Laab. You cannot have a Laab without this, and that is toasted rice powder. Super easy to make. You just take raw rice. Typically we use sticky rice, but you can use jasmine rice. Toast it in a dry pan, keep stirring it all the time until it becomes a deep golden brown, okay? You can make this in advance, but I wouldn't make too much in advance because the longer you keep it, the less aromatic they become. So I typically only make as much as I'm going to use for that particular recipe. So this, now I'm going to grind in my mortar and pestle. You can blitz it in a coffee grinder if you like. And then you can start to smell it in the air. So good. This is such magical powder right here. So this is what you're trying to go for. Notice that it's not a complete powder like flour because I do like a little bit of a texture in it. If you blitz it in a coffee grinder, just be careful not to overdo it because you get it too fine very quickly. All right, apart from that, I've just got a few easy to find ingredients. I got some ground pork. We still need some protein in this dish and a bunch of herbs. I got green onion, cilantro, and mint. Mint is the most important herb. If you only have one, go with the mint, okay? All right, let's get cooking. This comes together really quickly, so it's a great weeknight meal. So I'm gonna cook my noodles in this pot of boiling water. And the noodles only take about 2 to 3 minutes. I'm also going to throw in my mushrooms in there as well. So the noodles are done. And if you're not sure, you can just give it a taste. And if it's tender, it's done. I'm going to now drain this. Hot. Woo. And before I shake all the liquid off, I want to put some, just a tiny little bit, like a tablespoon, back in the pot. You'll see why in a second. Okay, that's good. Back here. Now this, I'm going to dump into my mixing bowl. Woohoo! Look how cool that looks. Now that little bit of water in there is what I'm going to use to kickstart my pork. You can use ground chicken, by the way. Totally fine. And I'm going to add my ground pork in here, and that little bit of water will just help lubricate it, prevent it from sticking to the bottom too much. But you don't want to put too much water in there because then you'll end up with a ton of water that you'll need to drain off. And you don't want to drain off any pork juices because that's good flavor. You know how I love mini kitchen utensils? Well, the only thing about it is your hand gets really hot because it's so close. to the flame. But that's okay. We sacrifice for cuteness. So this technique in Thai, it's called ruan. For those of you who are interested, just cooking a little bit of, cooking in just a little bit of water. That is done. I'm gonna turn that off. And then this goes directly into my mixing bowl, along with all the yummy pork juices, because in there also is pork fat, which is going to help lubricate our salad, because as you may notice, there's no fat added at all, no oil, no nothing. Okay, so now while this is still hot, I'm gonna add what should be thinly sliced shallots, but since I ran out of shallots, I'm using red onion instead, which is something you could totally do. Yeah, let's put it all in. Give that a quick toss, and by adding the onions while this is still hot, it'll help wilt the onion a little bit, make it a little less pungent. And still, while that's still hot, we're gonna go in with our seasoning, which is very simple. Laab is 2 seasoning. Fish sauce for saltiness, and lime juice for tartness. Of course, this being Laab, it has to be spicy. So I'm gonna add chili flakes. So the chili flakes that we use is actually dry Thai chilies that you toast until it's nice and smoky, and then we grind that up. So you get not just the spice, but a little bit of smokiness as well. Or you can just use regular chili flakes. Ooh, that smells spicy already. And it looks like I only put a little bit because that stuff is strong. Right before you eat, you want to add your toasted rice powder and your fresh herbs. And you don't want to do this far in advance because otherwise your herbs will wilt. It won't look pretty. And the toasted rice powder will absorb some of that dressing. And for Laab, you want to be really generous with your herbs. And that's it! Dinner is served. Whew. Just love the smell of Laab. And it's such an iconic smell too. You smell that and it's like, yep, that is Laab. Could not possibly be anything else. Whew. And this recipe does make an enormous amount of salad, but I wanted to use up the whole packet of rice noodles, which usually comes in 40-gram packets, because it's really difficult to separate them and, you know, so ta-da! Now, normally we eat Laab with sticky rice, but because this already has carbs in it, I find it doesn't need it. Also, Laab usually comes with a lot of fresh vegetables like cucumber or cabbage or something. But again, because this already has the mushrooms and it's not as heavy as a typical meat-centric Laab, that I don't find it needs all that as much, but you definitely can. You can eat this on its own, but I think it's more of like a refreshing side dish to a bigger meal. But I have been known to just sit down to a bowl of this and just eat it for lunch. Laab is such a great representation of what Thai food is all about. It's sour, it's spicy, but it's also well-rounded with that toasted rice that gives it, I don't know, that kind of like rounds out the really sharp edges of the lime. And all the herbs that come through, it's really hard to describe if you've never had a Laab, but it's just a well-balanced flavor, but at the same time, very bold, very strong, and very refreshing. Love it. This will be a great side dish to like some barbecue chicken or any sort of heavier meats. Delicious. But you know what? As I said, I have been known to just sit down to a bowl of this and have it for lunch because it's so addictive. So the recipe, as always, will be on hotthaikitchen.com. And for those of you who are our Patreon members with access to the bonus show after the show, today I'm going to talk to you about some other more obscure variations of Laab that you can try at home. And if you want to know more about joining us on Patreon, I'll put the link in the description below. If you haven't subscribed to the show, make sure you do so you don't miss a recipe, and click the bell icon as well so you get a notification when I post a new video. Thank you as always for watching, and I will see you next time for your next delicious Thai meal.